Okay, welcome to my kitchen table. So I thought today for Family Day, I would kind of talk about how I get the family involved in the meal making. Now, for the most part, since I love the kitchen, I'm actually making the meals and stuff like that. But that's what I enjoy. But it is more than acceptable to involve the kids as much as possible. So one of the ways I like to do it is, well, actually, if you do any gardening, even if it's a small garden or a big garden, if you give the kids some space to throw in some seeds, it really gives them enjoyment to watch things grow, and it takes that some ownership for them. And they tend to just learn how things are growing, and then they actually get more involved in the food, and they will eat more of it too. So if you can grow any of the extra little things, if you can grow some sprouts and have them have their own sprout jar, then they'll eat the sprouts, stuff like that. So if you start instilling in them these little tiny things, not even like forcing it on them, they'll just start to really absorb it and really appreciate it, and again, take ownership, and then they want to go ahead and try it and eat more of it. So that's one way that you can do that, is by incorporating them. Of course, helping them, have them help you in the kitchen, right? Mixing things, creating things. I have seen them, my kids, personally have seen them eat differently or try things better when I know that they're actually being involved in the kitchen. Or when you start to talk more about the appreciation of food and where it actually comes from. It doesn't come from, I mean, I know it comes from the store, but it's not coming from a tree and it just magically appears, right? You have to pay for it. Somebody's working hard for it. So if you teach them appreciation that this food is real food that has the power to make them healthier and to make them feel better and to run faster and to giggle harder and stuff like that. Like, you just give them that love of food, and the appreciation is another thing. So always talk about food, right? Constantly talk about food, where it's coming from. If you've got it from a local farmer, hey, remember where we got that, picked up that half a cow from, or whatever, or a friend, that you picked up stuff from, you went to the farmer's market and stuff like that. So just, if you give us your food a story, they get more involved and stuff like that. And I know a lot of times kids are probably easier. Spouses are probably much more difficult to get them on board, because they've been doing whatever habit that you're trying to change or you're trying to accomplish in your kitchen. That habit's been there for a really long time. Right now you guys are all trying to change and switch things over, and that can be really hard. Change is really uncomfortable and very difficult. So one of my tricks that I have told some of my friends is, and don't take this the wrong way or don't take this bad, but like, simply not buying your spouse the thing that they want the most. It sounds terrible, I know. But like, they have a really bad habit of drinking pop, or they just want to have ice cream before bed every night. I'm just gonna put it down and say it. Those things are not good for you, and you should not be doing that. That's my opinion. But so maybe it's yours too, and you don't want them to do that anymore. Simply just don't buy them for it, or buy it for them anymore, okay? The second, and I know that you're like, well, my husband will just stop and get it. Well, let him stop and get it. That's his, they actually, everyone has freedom and they can have choice, right? But maybe if part of it is that you just don't encourage it, or that you just simply don't buy it. And I have seen that it actually has worked for some people. I have offered that advice to, which is great, because some of that stuff is really, really bad. And then another great way to get your kids to eat the meal, and my kids are younger, so I can't give quite advice about teenagers, but if they're hungry enough, they're going to eat it. So, but my thing is, we have little kids. You've got those cute little dishes with all the little compartments, and you make your food in the kitchen, and then you fill up all the little scoopfuls and you set it in front of them, and they come here and sit here, and then they look at it. And a lot of the times, especially if it's something new or they don't even want to try, it's a big old fight. Things all go to heck, right? It just can be awful. Then you end up making them a PB&J, and just so you can get through the meal. And then the other part of that one is that you never actually get to eat a warm meal, because you're in the kitchen serving up everyone's cute little plates and putting it on the table for them. What I have learned the last couple of years from my kids is like, I take the food that I've made. It's either in a crock pot or a pan or a cast iron pan, or you're making tacos. So you got all your little things cut up on a cutting board or something like that. I will put everything here on the table here, and I will let them self-serve and self-make all the things. And it gives them a sense of empowerment that they that they, again, take ownership, gives them a power of control over what's on their plate and not being force fed something that came to them. And I know a lot of times, well, my kids just aren't going to pick any of this is the other cats. Like, where's Waldo? Here's a cat. We have 3 cats, but they keep showing up in the videos. Okay, so now if your kids are going to give you a hard time about, like, you think they're not even going to scoop that off the plate onto their own plate, kind of let them know that's okay. I feel like pushing them too hard it just doesn't seem to work, at least in my experience and what I've seen. Pushing them or screaming at them, it just doesn't work. But so if you just say, hey, just try one bite, just try it, just a lick, just one bite, that's cool. It eventually will evolve and change. Is it going to work on your first meal by doing this? No, probably not. But if you continually do it, it will get easier and better. Now, there's going to be days when there's still going to be, stinkers that just don't want to deal with it. I get that. But if it becomes a habit, right? We're trying to create that legacy of food and health, right? So if it's all out for them and they can make their own choices, it's going to make a big difference in the long run. So that's probably my number one thing, is go ahead to put the food out on the table, and you get to actually have a warm meal. All right, I had a battery issue. The phone cut out on me, so I apologize for that. But I was saying that you actually get to have a warm meal yourself, which I know when you have little kids is like near impossible sometimes. So that, for you all to sit down and then they actually see you are taking some of the food as well, which is great, right? So we're creating that food legacy, hoping to instill all these little tiny things that will be like this huge momentum later on in their life, right? We're always about doing stuff for our kids, for our family, and certainly for ourselves. So if you've had any tips or tricks that you've gotten for some stubborn family members, maybe to go ahead and switch that thought process over from eating not so good to much better, I would love if you could share that in the comments. Also, if anything I've said today resonated with you, I would love if you could just post that and encourage each other to keep trying and try to keep thinking about ways to go ahead and incorporate our family, because that's what most of us are doing this for, right? Doing it for ourselves, certainly doing it for the family. So thank you very much for joining me today's video.